I'm Chris Stanton, I'm an A2 media student. The film trailers I'll be analysing will be The Devil Inside, made in 2012, starring Fernanda Andrade and Simon Quarterman, directed by William Brent Bell, and The Descent, made in 2005, starring Shauna MacDonald and Natalie Mendoza, directed by Neil Marshall. The Devil Inside and The Descent are both horror films, and both the films conform to codes and conventions of the horror genre, by featuring such parts as jump scares and silent moments to build up tension. Also, both are very dark and use very little lighting, and might only use such lighting as torches to illuminate in small areas of the screen. The trailers start with the age certificate rating for both films. This is due to a law that the companies need to show the audience a certificate age rating for the film they're about to see. In The Descent, we see the name of Lionsgate, the film's distributor. This would be due to Lionsgate being a known commodity, and the people know what to expect from a Lionsgate distributed film. In The Devil Inside, it doesn't go straight into the name of the producers or distributors, it goes into a scene from the movie. This may be due to the fact that the producers of the film are relatively unknown to the general public, so putting a logo up immediately won't likely entice people to go watch their film. The producers are shown for a few moments after, but only shown for a second due to it having a little effect. The genres of the films are both horror, but both feature very different subgenres of horror. This would make them very different, such as The Devil Inside is based around exorcism and The Descent is based around monsters in a cave. It is clear that The Descent features other subgenres because there is a different element of adventure, with the women going caving and the monsters jump scares that would effectively become a thriller. The iconography used in The Descent is the props and the costumes that be fit for caving. Equipment such as picks, harnesses and ropes are all featured, and the setting is also fitting with the props and costumes being what you would likely take to go caving or exploring. The iconography for The Devil Inside is props much like in a mental institute, such as a table with restraints. These settings feature in the trailer when the possessed mother is being held down. This fits with the subgenre of exorcisms, as that would be a common place for possessed people to be found. The typography of The Descent features the film's taglines: claustrophobia, disorientation, hallucination, fear. The claustrophobia relates to all the characters being stuck in a cave together. Disorientation relates to how they are lost. The hallucination would be thinking they have found the exit when really they hadn't. And the fear is the monsters that are in the cave. The words that are the typography for The Devil Inside are from a 911 phone call. It is taken from the main character, with the character Maria Rossi phoning up the emergency services to talk about how she has been possessed. The special effects used in The Descent, such as the lens flares in the cave, gives us a distorted view as to what is going on in the trailer, as the flare takes up some of the screen, as well as darkened portions take up the other majority of the screen. So what left is visible in the screen is a small portion of the screen. This effectively establishes the genre, as the audience will be more vulnerable to jump scare due to them focusing on the small part of the screen. In The Devil Inside, the trailer's special effects are used very differently, as certain movements with the camera that gives it a documentary feel due to the bouncing, as if it was being shot with a handheld. This effect gives the story a much more real approach, engaging the audience into what is going on much more clearly, and we would feel like we're actually in the scene, as the camera is going to make the movements that we would be making if we was in that position, filming what was going on. The title card for The Devil Inside is very conforming to the horror genre, and it is almost darkness on a white background with very bold black font so you can easily read the words "The Devil Inside." The title for The Descent is very similar in its presentation to The Devil Inside, apart from that it is the white that is the legible text on the black background. It is rather small text, so you have to focus on it to read it. This is effective for the horror genre. Due to you having to focus on it, you could be easily scared by a jump scare. Due to both sets of cast being rather unknown actors and actresses, there is no highlighting of the stars. Significant moments in the Descent trailer are when they go from being on the outside to being stuck on the inside of a cave with monsters. It shows how they were a group of friends, then how they were in the cave. This would be used to show how many went in and make a sync along the lines of how many would come out. In The Devil Inside, the significant moments would be when we see Rossi in a psychiatric ward. This would have been chosen to show how insane Rossi was, and how it wasn't just one event that caused her to go to a psychiatric ward. The significant characters shown would be that of the group of girls in The Descent. This would be due to them being the 6 or 7 main characters we see during the film. The other significant characters we would see are the crawlers, which are the monsters that inhabit the cave. The significant characters we see in The Devil Inside are mainly Maria Rossi and her daughter Isabella. The reason for this is that the storyline has Isabella making a documentary about exorcisms, so she decides to find her mother in the ward. The narrative in The Devil Inside appears to be a linear order, as we see a phone call about prior events, Isabella Rossi shooting her documentary, meeting her mother, then exorcism on her mother, which would appear to be the narrative told in the order of the film, with many moments being cut out in between. The Descent trailer is in lesson order, as we firstly see before they go into the cave, but then after the clips are dependent on the words that come up on the screen, as the clips are used to emphasise the words such as fear and hallucination. The unanswered mysteries from the trailers are both relatively similar, in a way that The Devil Inside we don't know whether the exorcism was a success or not, and in The Descent we are left with the question of how many girls escape the cave, or whether some die or if all of them live or even die. In both films there are no accolades or reviews shown. This would be due to both films being relatively unknown to the public with their lack of stars. Editing is used in a way to create suspense in The Descent, as it isn't fast-paced editing that works with the typography that shows up. However, it's small clips taken from the film and not changed in any way. The key characters are highlighted in these moments to show that these are the people who are in the cave, and to show the dangers that they are facing in this cave. In The Devil Inside, editing is used very differently, as it fades from story to story, such as the initial court scene, to the TV coverage, then to the team wanting to look at the exorcisms. The angles used are very natural, as I said before, to give it a view from a first person perspective. It's almost like the handheld character is us walking through the ward, so we are put into the scene itself. Both trailers feature a jump scare at the end. This is done differently, as The Devil Inside reveals its jump scare before its credits, whereas The Descent shows it after the title card and then gives a jump scare when going back to another scene. This would be more effective in The Descent's case, as the audience often feels safe once credit has come up, and the jump scare at this point is more effective. Lighting in The Descent is used very sparingly, as the movie itself is set in a cave. This would mean that the trailer uses low-key lighting for a majority of it. The colours used are very dark, but that is due to there being very little light to illuminate the scenes. In The Devil Inside, it's often natural lighting that is being used. Maybe a tiny bit darker, but mainly natural lighting. This is probably an attempt to make the film look as realistic as possible. And in real life, there are no car effects, so they won't want to put that in this film. In The Descent, there is little usage of background noise as it's mainly dialogue. This would be mainly due to two reasons. One being a cave, you won't have background music. You would just have natural noises from there, such as rocks falling or any creature scuttling. And two, because the director wants you to focus on what is being said, as if there's no voices in there, you're left with even more of an enigma of what is actually in the cave. The Devil Inside features several similar types of dialogue with no background noise. This usage of no sound effects during the dialogue makes the viewer feel even more uncomfortable, as we don't know what Rossi will do, and it gives it more sense of unpredictability. In conclusion, I've attempted to demonstrate that the trailers are used to create a sense of excitement for a film's release. It does this by giving teasers of a film while still aiming to not give away the main plot points. So with an unknown cast, it will be key for these films to have a better trailer. So a good trailer would generate the interest that will make up for the lack of star quality. The Descent leaves the enigma of the creatures that live in the caves, and people want to go to a cinema to learn more about these creatures and how deadly they can be. The Devil Inside also leaves an enigma, as we don't know whether the exorcisms are a success or maybe even if the demon leaves her and inhibits another person such as her daughter. Trailers also show some of the best moments in a film. Like a comedy trailer, they would show some of the best jokes, but wouldn't give them all away. Film trailers would then show the best moments, as people would then see these really well done scenes and then want to go to see the film, hoping the rest of the film would be as good as that quality they've seen. Overall, film trailers are used to get people to watch their films, as most people aren't aware of new releases, and the best way for them to hear about them would be through television, and these film trailers are an effective form of marketing.